If you want your best life, you've got to present your best self at all times. Don't put pressure on yourself, but you have to turn up for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you anyway. 6 a.m, crack of dawn, and it's so peaceful out here. It's unbelievable the way I feel the stillness, of the trees and the nature around me. It's beautiful. It's like it's trying to talk to you in a way. It's kind of like being in harmony with it. You just feel connected to it. I don't want to scream and shout or speak too loud right now. It's 6 a.m, walking through a local area, where people basically have their houses, so they'll be sleeping at this time. So you don't need to unstifle yourself when someone's trying to sleep, It's all about consideration. Yeah. But I do love getting up so early and getting out. That is a tremendous help. Unbelievable what that does for you. I don't know if there's anything better, to be honest. When you want something great, is so cliche. When you want something extraordinary, you've got to really, first of all, you've got to be willing to do things that nobody's willing to do to reach the pinnacle of that extraordinary thing. And then you've also got to hold yourself to the standard that extraordinary thing requires, that the you that deserves it in the future. You've got to hold yourself to that standard that basically you in the future you would see as normal, or the person that deserves that extraordinary thing sees as a normal behavior or normal set of behaviors. If you really want it, you've got to hold yourself to that standard, and then eventually you'll reach a customization point where you're just used to behaving in that manner all the time, trying to be your best all the time. I don't mean like in a nerdy way, because it can be kind of dull as well. That all you want to do is improve yourself, and there's nothing else that you talk about, and no other side to your personality. You've got to enjoy life as well. But outside of the fun and the whole range of colours that there is to your personality in life, you've got to, if that extraordinary thing is something that you seriously want, you've got to make the decision to do all the things possible to make it possible, all the things that are possible within your power to make that event or set of events or business, whatever it may be that you're aiming to do. You got to earn it, basically, and the only way that you earn it is by setting a standard for yourself. And a lot of times you're gonna misjudge how much work it actually takes. I think we underestimate how much work goes into some things, most things, and that's why we quit when things get hard, because we think we put a lot of work in, and we don't see any results, and then you just think it's not going to work, but really you've only put 1% of the work that's deserved. I think we hugely underestimate the amount of work that you've got to put in to certain endeavors. It's like you're climbing a mountain and you get to the base camp and you quit because, or you get halfway to the base camp and you quit because you didn't become a millionaire already. That's it. You hugely underestimate the standards that you set for yourself. You think you're holding yourself to a higher standard at the time, but then you realize that that's just like level 1, or oops, that's like you're basically like a baby level still. I mean, you probably can't see it through the video, but it's unbelievable, the calmness just of being up at the crack of dawn. And I think it depends a lot on your perception, because I know for one, if I was talking about this to some people that I know, they'd be taking the piss out of me. They'd be like, oh yeah, all right then. Fucking shut up, basically. But it all depends on your level of consciousness, really, at the end of the day, doesn't it? It's when you have a deep appreciation for nature and animals, yeah, basically nature, these things matter. It's kind of like I think it's sublime is the word. I think it's like a sublime experience, you know. This is what I believe the Kabbalion to be talking about a lot, you know, just the vibrations of nature and trying to harmonize with it. This is one of the ways that it all ties in together. The Kabbalion, trying to be your best self, nature, the high vibes, the positive vibes. The universe won't reinforce dark energy. It may, obviously there's dark energies in the universe, and you usually with the dark energies you get the immediate gratification, the immediate desired outcome, but that comes at a cost, and the cost usually is the long-term, let's just say, gratification. The long-term, you're basically paying for the now with the future. So you'll get your immediate desired outcome, but you'll have to pay for it down the line, and depending on what you've done, you'll have to pay a bigger or smaller price. But anyway, what I'm getting to is that's why it all ties in together, you know. The Kabbalion, being the best possible person that you can be, being your best self, and then being at one with nature and connecting with nature. It all aligns because to be your best self, really, I believe, personal belief, you have to align yourself with the core values of the realm that we are in at the moment, and that is the universe. And the universe has certain laws inside it, like the laws of physics, and I believe the laws of the Kabbalion are very practical and real. And that's why you have to align yourself with the universe and be a force. Not only do you get to ride the wave of the, you know, nature, and you've got God on your back helping you, God behind your back, you know, basically God's got your back, and you believe that fully. But also there's a long-term gratification for it, because it's sustainable. You're making a positive impact. You're basically generating positive karma for yourself. And like I'm talking about in other concepts, this also has the J-curve aspect to it. You're gradually going up and up and up, and then eventually you're skyrocketing up. That's why as well, that's why I say you've got to hold yourself to the highest standard and hold it, maintain that frame, maintain that belief system, maintain the behaviors, the standards for yourself. And that will bridge the gap between who you are, where you are, and where you want to be in your life. And you can't put a number or a distance or a time frame on that bridge, because everybody's bridge has a different length. And you can't drive yourself mad about how long your bridge is, or how long do you have to hold this behavior for. No, you should just internalize the behaviors and the habits and the standards that you set for yourself, and make that who you are. And don't worry about how long the bridge is, how far you've got to go. Just internalize it, become that, and live your life like that. You find joy in living purely. There's so much joy and so much fulfillment and deep, true satisfaction, instead of living for pleasure and hedonism. Obviously, you've got to enjoy your life. You've got to have a little bit of pleasure. I'm not saying don't ever enjoy yourself, but you shouldn't destroy yourself either just for a little bit of pleasure. It's so short-lived as well, and it doesn't even taste that great, you know, the pleasure when you know deep down in the back of your mind that you're destroying yourself, or you're ruining part of your life or your future just for a bit of short-term immediate gratification. But yeah, don't worry about how long your bridge is. I think that's a big one. Everybody's bridge is a different length, so you can't judge yourself by what whoever else has achieved by whatever time frame they've done it in. You know, you can't judge, you can't compare yourself to other people. Everybody's on a different journey, and everybody's bridge is a different length. So when you ask the question, how long does it take for me to achieve mastery, for example, I don't know. Nobody knows. God knows. Go out there and do what you got to do, and then you'll actually find joy in the process, enjoying the process, and getting up and just grinding it out. You'll find joy in that, and then you won't worry about when you achieve mastery. And then maybe you might just achieve it when you stop worrying about it. Look at that. I mean, I imagine you can't really appreciate it with the phone, but look, snowy mountaintops. What a beautiful place to come and train early in the morning. You want to align yourself with the highest values that you know of. And if you don't know of any high values, then research them. But personally, obviously, be positive mentally, have a positive mentality. Also, another thing that I quickly wanted to add, I just remember now, when you're on your journey, when you're crossing your bridge, it's important that your own best friend, like your own cheerleader and motivational speaker, like, come on, you can do this, come on, keep going, I can do this, I can do this. And you just want to maintain them types of mantras the whole way along. Whew. And you don't want to be too critical of yourself when you make mistakes. Obviously, check yourself. Obviously, correct the behavior. Obviously, don't be happy if you make some dumb mistakes. But you don't want to ruin the present moment as well, because you're punishing yourself too much. I think as human beings, we punish ourselves way too much. And that's why sometimes you see like these dumb people, and they're always so happy and successful and doing great and loads of, you know, women and everything. And it's because they don't really punish themselves too much. They make mistakes and they just get on with life. They accept it, they're human, enjoy life, smile. And then there's a lot of us, especially the nerdy types and whatever, the geeky types or whatever, tend to be more self-critical. But the thing is, when you're so self-critical and you're over-analysing everything, you are sacrificing the now, the present moment. So take note of the error, check yourself, correct the behaviour, and let it be. And let it go, move on, and smile, and be happy that you checked yourself and that you realise that you made an error. That's it. Don't over-punish yourself. Come on. Life's hard enough already as it is. To then have you, yourself, come and be with a stick and beat yourself up internally, you know? So, yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to add to the whole bridge concept. And that's it. You want to align yourself to the highest values. So don't do drugs. Don't do... This is the whole point of it. When you stop doing drugs, when you stop escaping yourself and your reality, when you eat the best foods, when you do exercise, when you get up early, when you think positive thoughts, and you basically completely aligning yourself with the highest possible values and working very hard, whatever you're doing, whatever job it is, just do the best job that you can do. When you're out in social interactions, always try and have the best possible outcome, be that what it may be. It elevates your consciousness level, and then you will have a higher capacity for connecting with the sublime and the divine, and it all comes full circle. And then you kind of it's like a cycle, you know, it comes back around, and you go kind of, you cycle, like, I guess you could go like this, you slowly spiraling up. Basically, it's a spiral, and that's it. Yeah, you've got to be on an upward spiral. But when you're basically aligning yourself with all the universal energies and positive values, you have the power of the divine on your side, cheering for you as well. You just have to believe it and believe in yourself, and you will get rewarded to the degree of how hard you work for the divine purpose. I might sound like a preacher, eh? But I mean, just is what it is. This is what's coming out of my mouth. What can you do? Yeah. All right, that's it. That's the workout done for the morning. Sunday morning. What time is it? 7:30. It's nice, you know. You finish your workout early in the morning, and a lot of people are still in bed at this time. Not that it's a competition between you and other people, but I don't know. I like it because obviously a lot of people are still in bed, so it's peaceful. It's just you and nature. And I'll tell you one thing as well. Personally, I'm not a saint. You have to accept that there's also a dark side to yourself. Everybody has a good and a bad side. It's part of the duality of the human experience and the universe in itself. Everything has its opposites. The thing is, you've got to, it's like the fight of the two wolves, the two hungry wolves, or I don't remember, but it's like an old Japanese proverb, I think. But there's the good wolf and the bad wolf. And the wolf that wins is the wolf that you feed. So that's why I advocate always just stay on the positive side. That's why I advocate not to do drugs, not to do anything like that. Feed the positive wolf. Do exercise. Do everything in your power to help the good wolf. Because if the bad wolf wins, it's such a waste of life, energy. It's such a shame. I mean, you could argue it's all part of the grand scheme of things, and God doesn't get anything wrong. And you know, if you, for example, were sacrificed for the bad, but that's part of the balance or whatever. But you're one person, you know. You don't have that kind of. One person doesn't have that kind of level of intelligence and capacity to decipher the whole fucking grand scheme of things, you know. Just be conscious that it's not all rosy and beautiful. Obviously, in part of the human psyche, and just all psychology really, all animal psychology, every kind of mental aspect, there's positive and there's negative, and you've got to accept it and channel it. I'm conscious of my negative sides. I'm conscious of my dark side. You can't judge yourself for it either, because we all have it, and it's like I said earlier, there's no use in punishing yourself too much anyway, because you're sacrificing the now, and you're sacrificing the chance to maybe do good in the moment, because you're just stuck in your head punishing yourself. But be conscious that, of course, we all have dark sides, but you got to check it, you got to watch for it and realize it for what it is. Not feed it. Catch yourself if you're ever slipping down the dark side. And channel it, yeah. You know, if you're feeling especially heavy energy or dark energy, then go to the gym or go for a run and really push yourself. Use that competitive, aggressive edge that you're feeling in that moment. But yeah, if anything, just channel it in a positive direction. So at least work out extra hard and use that aggression and anger that you're feeling to get out a couple of extra reps, or push a little bit harder intensity on the runs or whatever it may be. That's why it's important sometimes to slow down a bit as well, because I believe when you're rushing and in the hamster wheel of work and 9 to 5 or whatever it may be, you're not able to really connect with your true self and with the vibration and the rhythm of nature. Sometimes things go a bit slower. You got to slow things down. You'll be patient. And when you're stuck in the 9 to 5 and just go, everything's rushed. You don't really have time to think. You can't separate yourself from the task at hand. So you can't really connect with nature, and it's a necessary sacrifice. You've got to make money somehow. So it just is what it is. I'm not shitting on 9 to 5s at all. But be conscious that if you don't take yourself proactively out of the hamster wheel, once you've got enough money saved up, at least for a little period of time, and take the time then, that free time, don't disconnect from reality, but take that time to connect and to kind of slow yourself down and be at one with your thoughts and the environment that you're in, then you can have a genuine connection and genuine ideas come to your mind of who you want to be and what you want to do and what you want to achieve with your life. But if you're constantly stuck in the hamster wheel, time goes by super fast as well, and you don't really achieve anything. And eventually you'll be, however old you are, still not having achieved really much of what you really wanted to achieve or what you felt like you were born to do. You got a couple and a little bit of money saved up in the bank. So you've got to realize it's not all about money. You've got to take yourself out of that hustle and bustle, and and kind of slow things down to the natural rhythm of the universe. Obviously, some things do have to be done quickly from time to time, but that frenetic, rushed, stressed, chronicle stress syndrome that the big cities kind of suffer from, I think that might be a symptom of an illness, of a mass mind virus type thing. I think maybe it's also a symptom of cocaine fueled activity, ADHD or whatever you want to call it. Mass cocaine fueled freneticism. I mean, it's true really, at the top and at the high levels and at the medium levels and even at the low levels, it's everywhere. And that could just be part of what you could call the cancer of the frenetic city. What I meant was not a mass mind virus. I meant a mass parasitical entity that's sucking the souls out of people. And I think one of the final forms of being gripped by the parasitical entity is when you start being a habitual user of cocaine. That's why I preach so hard against doing drugs and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's fun. I've tried it myself, I'm not gonna stand here talking, pretending that I ain't ever touched it. I've tried it, of course I have. And yeah, it can be fun, but it's so short-lived. And it's like, I think back to one time I listened to a man called Owen Cook from, those of you who know who he is. He's a great speaker and a great teacher, in my opinion. And I remember him talking a long time ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, about a concept of basically you're having fun, but you can imagine yourself like as a castle. So you're enjoying yourself or whatever, but each time you do a line of that shit, or you have a drink or or smoke a cigarette, you basically blow a hole in the wall of your castle. If you think of yourself as a castle and you keep blowing holes all over the castle, bigger holes and more damage, eventually the foundation crumbles and you destroy your own castle yourself, and then there's no coming back from that. But yeah, I believe the grip it turns you into a super consumer as well. All you want is the flashy lifestyle and the facade of being successful and having everything that people pretend that they enjoy and that they want, you know, like the fast cars and the plastic filled women. Not to say these people are not people, and that some of them might not even realize that they're being fooled, they're being lied to. They believe in the lie that the outside, the image, what you show matters. Yeah, okay, a little bit of first impression and holding yourself to a standard of hygiene is important, but it's not everything. Some people hold that as a badge of honor, like as if it's the only thing that they possess. And yeah, basically that shit turns you into a super consumer, super selfish, and that's why it turns people into frenetic hamsters. Let's just call it that, where they're trying to make as much money as possible just to be able to pay for the facade and pay for the habits. Because when you do that stuff, it gives you a dopamine spike, very intense one, and then you kind of that's how you get addicted, and you think this is the right way, because dopamine is one of them reinforcing neural transmitters that reinforces a behavior. So when you go out and buy the drug and then you take it and you get that dopamine hit, all the behaviors that led up to that moment are reinforced heavily. It's almost like a spiritual feeling where it's like, this is the right way, this is what I should have done. Even for just the 5 minutes that it lasts, the high, or whatever it lasts, half an hour, however long it lasts, depending on the quality of the shit. You're reinforced, all the behaviors are reinforced, and then your mind is an incredible solution machine. You know, it makes basically your mind's an incredible problem solver, and it then comes up with ways of how you can keep sustaining the habit, basically. And a lot of these ways are not realistic, or far from how it really will turn out. You have like these big grand ideas of how you're going to be and who you're going to be and how you're going to make loads of money or whatever. Everyone's different, and how you're going to make loads of money to then sustain your habit, and it's not going to be a problem, and you're the different one, you're the outlier, you're not going to get addicted, you're going to be all right, you're going to be able to sustain it because you got a special mind. And I think everyone goes through that one, and that's it. That's the parasite right there. So it grips you deep inside you, and it's very hungry as well. The cravings are strong, so the pangs they change the personality of the person. That's why people are so fucked up and weird on a deep level. On the surface, they can act like normal, sociable, and yeah, fun and cool and all whatever you want. But when things get personal, a lot of people are super weird, and a lot of it now I see there's a big part of the population which is just drug addicted, and a lot of people are drug addicted to this shit. It creates like these psychological problems inside of people that are new to a lot of psychologists and all this. We don't know. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm very interested in psychology. But the reality is, as far as a human race and the knowledge that we have about the mind is pretty basic, I'd say, at the moment. So you don't know the far and wide effects of this type of habit has on the population, because it's not just you that you're affecting when when the parasite gets a grip of you. You're affecting people around you as well, and you're creating your own hell, and you're dragging people in with you by being obsessed with ridiculous, maniatic details that don't even matter, but because you've been gripped by this demonic entity, now your ego is tripping, and all you care about is being like the one that's in power, the one that's in control of most dynamics, especially if you've got even a low powerful position. You're tripping on power all the time and worrying about menialities and making other people miserable around you just because you're now basically a parasite. And that has an effect on the people indirectly that are with you, that work with you, or that have to deal with you in one way or another, you or whoever it may be. I say you, but hopefully it's not you that's listening to the video. But yeah, that was just a side tangent. And I don't like to hammer on too much about drugs, because the idea is to stay away from all that shit, but it's important to be conscious of what's going on. And I give you my unique perspective on it. Doesn't mean I'm 100% right. Maybe I'm wrong. Guess what? Who knows? But anyway. Fucking hell, look at this. It's beautiful. And so tranquil. That's it turns you into a consumer, so then your consciousness is lowered so much that you have to... Now let's just look at it from the other side, from the other perspective. If you're not gripped by the parasite, if you're not you don't have any kind of habits, and you don't have to basically sustain any habits, what I preach basically makes you a non-consumer, makes you a producer, so you can sustain yourself with minimum amounts of resources, just as long as you have enough to keep you alive, with food, shelter. So yeah, as long as you've got enough to keep you, to sustain you, you become basically self-sufficient. And that is what is that's why it's not in their best interest to have people like me, the big chunk of the masses, of the people. If everyone had the same type of mindset, nobody would be spending money, Everyone would be saving loads of money and not consuming bullshit, not believing the bullshit. They basically would lose the game. It's hilarious, really. Look at this. Lucerne. So in my personal experience, my opinion, it's important that you stop all these habits that are going to turn you into a chump consumer. You got to become a producer, a hustler. That's what they don't want, okay? And that's what you got to become. You got to break free from all the chains that are holding you down and making you depend on society and the consumption. And you want to become someone that can live off the minimum amount of resources possible. And that's why you need to do everything that I preach. Not saying because you have to do what I say. It's just I know, because I've seen it in other people and seen it in myself, that's the most efficient way that there is to be existing. And at the end of the day, it does come down to being efficient and productive, adding your grain of sand to society. You really don't want to be stuck in this consumer mindset or spirit, because it really does nothing for you except for gratify you in the immediate, but in the long term it does nothing for you, and it just turns you into a zombie basically. So you've got to basically train hard and become someone that can think for themselves and question authority and all the mainstream ideologies. When you come across some form of mainstream idea, usually when it's like masses don't follow the masses, you know, like wherever the masses go, you basically want to go in the opposite direction. Sadly enough, that's why it's no surprise to me, it's not going to be ever a surprise to me that my content is not going to be for everybody, because the masses, sadly enough, just aren't able to resonate with this level of existence. But the good thing is, the few that will resonate deeply. That's it. When you elevate your level of consciousness, you basically require less and less to be satisfied and to be able to rest and relax. And a lot of people be like, oh, I'm stressed out, I need to smoke a joint just to calm me down. But that's such a limiting belief. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about drugs. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's not what I'm not going to be hammering on about drugs. Figure it out, you know, stop doing that shit, basically. Find other habits that are more healthy. You've got to use the power of your mind and willpower to drag yourself out of the habit and reframe it as something positive that taught you experiences about how dark the world can be and the reality of the dangers of the world, and reframe it also as a way to strengthen your willpower muscle to the point that you was able to drag yourself from underneath the average starting point and elevate yourself to above the average starting point. And you'll have a baseline willpower muscle that's stronger than the average person's, because you had to drag yourself out of it. But you make your life 10 times harder by starting like that. So it's best to never do it, and that's it. But yeah, that's it. That's enough drug talk. So now, I don't know. That's why if you're following this type of content, really, you're going to be an outlier. You're going to be someone that's not going to, you're going to be kind of a loner type of dude. And although you can, you know, be social, and yeah, of course, man, you could be a cool guy. You can get along with loads of people, of course, or girl. You're also quite maybe eccentric, or, you know, you just don't resonate with all these values and bullshit that most people resonate with. So you just have to accept the fact that you're going to be alone. It's like they say, it's lonely at the top. But it's important. That's why it's important to be your own best friend and cheerleader and that. And you know, elevate people whenever you see that they are open to being elevated. It doesn't mean that you're superior to them at all. As well, sometimes you'll even be inferior to a lot of people in a lot of aspects of life. So you should never walk around with a sense of superiority, but at the same time you should carry yourself with confidence and a strong frame and believe in yourself 100%. Because if you're fighting against this parasite that's got a grip of the modern people, you are basically a force for good, and you have to be proud of that And you also have to hold yourself tall and confidently and be strong if you want to have any hope of having any kind of effect. And then people can take it however they want to take it. It's not your problem whether people receive it or don't receive it in a positive light or not. So, because sometimes you'll be surprised. Sometimes people will take it the right way when you expect them to take it the wrong way. And sometimes people will take it the wrong way when you expect them to take it the right way. So, and it's all out of your power anyway. And if you go around trying to please people, you're gonna lose yourself in the process of doing so. So, you want to believe in yourself. If there's anything that's you've got to take away from this video, it's that you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to have a unwavering belief that you are not the chosen one, but not in a narcissistic way anyway, but that you are fighting the good fight. Let's put it that way. And you should be proud of that. And you should never forget that. Try and not forget that. Some people are going to be along for the long ride. Some people are going to be along for the short ride. Some people are going to resonate with you for a while, and then they're going to have an RAS flip. But that's their own issues. That's nothing to do with you. You got to stay on your path. It's also important to respect people where they're at. You can't force people to change, and if they don't want to change, you can't hammer in the concepts forcefully. This is something that has to come from within the person. The person has to be willing to make the shifts and put in the effort to become basically an outlier. And you've got to respect people where they're at. Some people also have gone through certain things that have dragged them down so far that they're not ready to elevate to that level. So all you can do really is respect them and show them love. And that's it. And don't be forceful about these type of things, because it would be counterproductive, aside from being a waste of energy and a waste of breath. So, and it would also possibly demoralize you, because you might put a lot of investment and effort into someone, you know, be it a partner or a friend, and then they turn out to be even worse than what you thought they were, and that might make you think that it was your fault that they've turned out even worse, and that might demoralize you. So what you want to do is not get too heavily involved with other people, especially if they don't naturally approach you asking for your help and advice. Look at this tree just falling down in the middle of the pathway. That's crazy, man. That shit falls on you. You ain't telling the story. So yeah, wherever you're at in your journey, I mean, honestly, you really, I know I said earlier that this isn't for everyone, but it doesn't really matter what stage you're at. You can follow this content and take the nuggets and pieces of advice that resonate with you and discard the ones that don't. And I'm not right about everything. I'm human, so I'm sure I'll be making mistakes along this journey as well. But it also helps, I think, to have a channel of quality information, and I believe that the information that I put out is of the highest quality. So why not indulge? and take things easy, slowly. There's no rush, is there? You got your whole life, and it's all a part of the test and the journey. And I think we've been put here to be tested, to see if we fall prey to the parasite, or if we're able to fight the parasite and become a source of energy and light, and not a source of darkness. I think that's what it kind of comes down to. Yeah, so it's important to not think of yourself as someone superior just because maybe you feel like you have a high vibration or a high calling or anything of the sort. Even if you do, and even if you've been consistent with these teachings and taken lots of action for many years, you should still always see yourself as an equal, because we're all human beings, and it doesn't matter if you're further down the path than other people. It doesn't make you any better than them. And at the end of the day, everyone really has infinite potential to reach the level that you may be on, or even more. So it just is a matter of whether they tap into that potential and use the resources at hand and take the action that needs to be taken to reach that level. But what I'm getting at is, just because there's a lot of negative energy at the moment doesn't mean that there isn't also a lot of light everywhere to be found. And what you want to do is you want to search for the light in the small interactions with the day-to-day people that you come into contact with. And although you might be an outlier in some ways, you also just want to bring the light and be a source of positivity. Because at the end of the day as well, like I say, life's already hard enough for you to then go and make it even harder for yourself or for other people, you know. So you want to be, obviously not everyone's going to resonate as well, and if they don't, they just get out their way, get out of each other's way, and that's it. There's no need for any type of conflict. But you want to search for the positive and or the highest possible peak of, you know, high vibe in the interaction, because everywhere, in every corner of the world, there is light, there's positive energy among the negative energy. So what you want to do is you want to search for that positive energy and be kind of like the flashlight in the dark for a lot of people, pointing, and you want to point towards the positive energy. And some people are just not going to want to see it. Some people are going to get irritated by you, but there's no need to focus on them. And then a lot of people are going to be hugely grateful for your service, basically, even if they don't see it as a service, even if they just kind of, they might not even recognize that it was you that awoke it. At least it snaps them out of the dark and dense energy and breathes a bit of life and light into them in that moment. But yeah, you don't want to basically think of yourself as superior to anybody. Always strive to be your best self. Look at yourself as your biggest rival, and don't look to other people to compare yourself with other people. And it's not a competition between you and other people. It's a competition between you and yourself. So yeah. Another epiphany. I'm full of them lately, aren't I? If God blocks one path, there's always other paths. And there's a reason why that path might have been blocked. There might be something divine. There might be something out there divine that's protecting you. So as much as it might hurt and frustrate you in the moment that path was blocked, maybe it was exactly what was needed to happen, for you to run into your legend, as they say in The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, your true legend, something like that. Your life legend, I can't remember. And live out the life that you're supposed to live. Sometimes, if you really want to, I believe the universe helps you reach your goal. But you have to want to as well. You can't expect to just basically drift along down a river downstream. You've got to put your 100% effort in. But I believe the universe is watching, and is taking stock of how much you're putting in or putting out, how much work you're putting in, and adjusting your role, adjusting your path as well to the role that it wants for you. You've got to be grateful. Gratitude is the best attitude, as they say. And just to finish off, as a final thought for the video, you can use the framing of other people that are below you and not seeing them as any less than what you are, seeing them as equals, and not actively practicing. You have to actively practice not being superior to nobody, because you're not. You're just a human being like everyone else, and you've had your setbacks and you've had your advantages, and everyone gets dealt different cards, so you shouldn't feel superior to nobody. Okay? And as you practice that frame of equality, not in the woke sense, in the realistic sense, it comes in handy, and you can use it selfishly in the inverse sense, because when you come across people that you may perceive as higher value than you, on face value, immediately you are going to have more practice with that frame control and fighting against the illusion of what it is. It's an illusion of superiority or inferiority complex, and you're just going to use the same frame that you've been practicing in the inverse sense. So you've been practicing not being superior to other people, will help you not feel inferior also to other people. You can use that, and that muscle, you'll have strengthened it with practice, and you will be able to use it efficiently but when you come into contact with people that are perceived as higher value than you, perceived as superior. Hello. So that's one way you can use it, in a selfish way, basically. Come on. And don't get me wrong, I'm the first one that's all about the hustle and bustle and grinding it out and working as hard as you can physically possible, for a sustainable long period of time. I'm the first one to optimize that. But if you want to make some sort of important change to your life, you have to take yourself out of your hamster wheel. Everyone's got their own one. You've got to actively take yourself out of it when you get a moment, even if you can't, because some of you will have kids and responsibilities to respond to, basically. So but even if it's just like the break at work, whatever, you've got to take yourself out there. If you really want to change, you've got to put your mind to it. You've got to make the necessary mental effort to figure out what it is that's going to basically solve your problem. And then when you figure it out, maybe you've got to take some certain risks that come with the plan of action that might not seem pretty, especially if you've got responsibilities, like I said, children and stuff. But it's necessary. You've got to take yourself out of the hamster wheel and give yourself time to slow down a bit and take time to think and give your brain oxygen. It's best to go out in the nature and then actively pursue your solution. Everyone's got their own solution, you know, so you got to pursue your solution. And the only way you're going to come to a feasible solution, I mean, you could be lucky and just, you know, kind of relay or parlay one thing onto another. You know, you've been working super hard, and then all of a sudden you come up with a business idea. That does happen as well, but sometimes you're not that lucky, and it takes this type of risk where you've got to stop what you're doing and give yourself a bit of time to figure out what it is that you actually want to do. And then when you figure it out, that's when you want to go basically all in that direction.